Yes, what's going on, everyone? This talk is brought to you by thedaydreamsound.com, where you can get all of my music, all of my services. You will have a good time there. Now, so you want an Ensoniq sampler, and there are so many to choose from. Which do you get? Which is best for you? There's a lot of choices to be made here, and this is a pretty difficult video. Let me get this out of the way. Some of you know, some of you may not know. I regard the EPS 16 Plus as my favorite sampler. That is my personal choice. If it were up to me, that's what I would get. But I'm going to be completely transparent in this video and recommend what I would do if I were you, depending on where you're at. So let's start with the Mirage. The Mirage 8-bit sampler, okay? Starters, 8-bit. You will be hard pressed to find very many 8-bit samplers. There is the Akai, I can't remember the name. Is it the 650 or 6 something? 612, S612. That is also an 8-bit sampler. But you're not going to find many 8-bit samplers around at that type of quality. You're just not going to find one. So back to what I was saying. 8-bit sampler, analog filter. The only Ensoniq sampler with an 8-bit filter. Sampling time, minimal. Tracks, none. The Ensoniq Mirage splits the keyboards into two halves. So you have something called the lower half and the upper half. You can place samples on either halves of those keys, of the keyboard. It divides it that way. You can also multi-sample, but either way, it's limited. Sequencer, none, okay? So this is a sampler that if you are into 8-bit stuff, if you're looking for lo-fi, really versatile analog filter stuff where you just want it for maybe one or two sounds, or you kind of want to have a kind of eclectic piece of equipment that sounds really weird. The Ensoniq Mirage sounds really weird. There's a sequencer on it that's not really a sequencer. It's just a recorder. Really, you can hit record and it will record whatever you play. It will not quantize. It will not do anything. You hit play or record, you hit stop, whatever you play in between that time, it will just loop it over and over and over again. That is it, right? You can make beats that way. I've done it. You can see some of the videos that I've done. I've used the sequencer. It's great. It's really great to get your ideas out, to practice for anything. The immediacy of it is amazing. But that is as far as it goes. It is a great, great sampler, and it is cheap. You can get one for $100 to $200 to, I'd say $100 to $300, depending on the shape. If you're a person looking for that type of thing, look no further than the Ensoniq Mirage. There's nothing that sounds like it. It's golden. I have two, and it's the only Ensoniq sampler that I have two of. So even though the 16 Plus is my favorite, the Mirage is a gem. It's a straight gem. Now, what's next? The EPS Classic. We go up to 13 bits. This is a powerhouse. Like, of all the Ensoniq samplers, people tend to kind of ignore this just because it's eclipsed by the 16 Plus and the ASR 10 and everything up. But the EPS Classic it's a beast. Nothing sounds like that thing. It doesn't sound like the Mirage, and it doesn't sound like the EPS 16 Plus or any other Ensoniq sampler. It is rough. It is harsh. It is just, it's really steely. Like in my review, you'll see, I've mentioned it makes you feel uneasy, the things that it can do. It is the only Ensoniq sampler that can sample all the way down to 612 kilohertz, all the way up to like 52 kilohertz. So very, very high sampling rates that you can get up to. Yeah, pretty nasty. It has essentially everything that I'll start with this. You get a sequencer, 8 tracks. This is the first introduction of a sequencer on an Ensoniq sampler. And then you can record an additional 8 tracks. They're called song tracks, which you can record over your 8 tracks to kind of fill in your song. So once you've recorded your song that comprises of 8 tracks, you can record over that whole song with 8 additional tracks for fills, just to gel your song together. Many people don't talk about it because many people don't use it, but you essentially have those song tracks at your disposal. It is a complete self-contained workstation. You can make a song from start to finish in the 16 Plus. It is great. Price point, again, $350 and up or below. But I'd say $300 to $350 is a sweet spot for a good in-shape Ensoniq Classic. What else can I tell you about it? Incredible synthesis capabilities. You can make stuff with this. If you are a type of person that wants to get into synthesis the way I prefer, which is to use samples to make your own synthesized tones, this again is a beast. Just because of the wide range you have. You have layers. You can build layers of sounds. Actually, I'm not sure. Let me retract that because I'm not sure if the EPS does that. I got to look that up because it's not something that I've really done with it. But just aside from all that, it's a beast. At a price point like that, if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for a rough kind of, just raw kind of, just no apology. Like, it makes no apology. It is just great for snares. It's probably the most hard, how do you say it? It's probably the most aggressive of all the Ensoniq samplers, I'd say. So that's what I would go for if that's your thing. Now, the 16 Plus. The 16 Plus is the kind of, it's the kind of immature middle child of the Ensoniq family. It can go either way. One day, it can feel like it wants to be a kid. The next day, it can be all grown up and mature. It has the capability out of all the Ensoniq samplers to just be a complete chameleon. The only thing it probably cannot replicate is the Mirage. The Mirage, just letting you know, it's in a class of its own. But when we're talking about the EPS, the 16 Plus, and the ASR, the 16 Plus is right down the middle. Sonically, it can go either way. Now, with the 16 Plus, which I'm sure you can do layers. So unlike most samplers that you will buy, you can create a sound that is layers deep. So you could have a snare, layer it with another snare, layer with some kind of effect, and layer it up to 7 times. Or is it 8? I believe it's 8. 8 layers deep on one sound. On one key. You got 127 keys. You can make memory provided. You know what I mean? Granted, with memory, you can do that for every single of the keys. You can do that 127 times 8, right? You got 8 tracks, 127 keys. You can do that 8 times. So you can get really crazy if you're really using low sample rates, or you just, whatever. No one really would do that, but you can do it if you wanted to. I'll step back to the EPS Classic. And I know I'm going back and forth because I'm just doing that today. Memory is about, I don't know, you could get, maybe 30 to 40 seconds, I'm just guessing here, on the EPS Classic. On the 16 Plus, you can get up to a minute or so with the expanded version, depending on the sample rate. Sample rate is everything. You could downscale, you could upscale. It's up to you, but you can get a good amount of time. I started on the EPS Classic. I started on the EPS 16 Plus. I learned on a Classic. And when I got the 16 Plus, I never really had a problem with memory. I just was able to make my tracks and have no problem with wondering, okay, am I running out of space here? Because you could always resample at a lower sampling rate. Now, like I would say, the main thing with the Classic, I keep on doing this. The main thing with the 16 Plus is you get the introduction of effects now. You get 13 effects that come in really handy because they sound bomb. They are good effects. They're good. They're really good. And another thing I'd say that stands out with it is just the range. It could sound warm and fat. It could sound like the classic if you wanted to. It has that capability. Okay, so if you're looking price range, $400, $300 to $400. It all depends with the shape. But here is the downside. Out of all the Ensoniq samplers, the 16 Plus is the most finicky. Like I said, it's like an immature sibling. It will cause trouble just because. You'll be working on a beat and it will just freeze just because. It just does that. That's the relationship you're going to have with it. So if you are the type of person that likes the power, that wants the versatility, go for the 16 Plus. I've been happy with it. I co-sign it. It's my favorite. The ASR 10. This is the beast. This is the absolute beast in every sense of the word. It's heavy. It's the best looking. It's just sleek. It's just smooth. It has a sound that none of the Ensoniq samplers have had till this day. It is just smooth and nice and just, you know, it's good. Very, very confident, mature 90s sampler you're talking about. It's a workhorse. 16 megabytes of RAM. The 16 Plus has 2. I don't even know how much the Classic has because mine's expanded. It has 2, but it doesn't come with 2. But anyway, this is the first Ensoniq sampler, the ASR10, that gives you 16 megabytes of RAM. This is the first Ensoniq sampler which you can record directly to external hard drive. You can do that. So aside from the sequencer and everything that the 16 Plus and the EPS have, you now get these 2 audio tracks that you can record directly to. I don't use it very much, but it's there. And it was a big deal in the 90s. It was pretty powerful to have something like that because you just didn't have things like that back then. What else can I tell you? You now get 50 effects, powerhouse effects. So you get the original 13 from the 16 Plus, plus more. And they're all good, like they're really good. This sampler, it sounds good, it's confident, it does not freeze, it does not give you too much trouble. It's great. So if you want the elite of that sort of EPS line, get the ASR 10. It's the creme de la creme. You know, you get points for having an ASR 10. People might laugh at you for having a 16 Plus. People may not even know what you're talking about if you have an EPS. People will think you're from space if you say you have a Mirage. They're just like, what is that? I didn't even know Ensoniq had a Mirage. There are so many people that I run into that don't know about the Ensoniq Mirage. Another reason why you may want to get one. It's good. They're all good. Anyhow, ASR 10, good sampler. If you don't like maintenance, if you don't like the finicky stuff, if you want to be able to expand, get the ASR 10. And you want that sound. Most of what people know Ensoniq to be, as far as sampler goes, comes from the ASR 10. You know, people know about the ASR 10. Producers till this day still reference the ASR 10. No one's talking about a 16 Plus or EPS. Like, they just don't talk about it, right? The ASRX. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's talk about the ASRX. The ASRX, my way that I describe to everybody about the ASRX is, the ASRX is an unfinished prototype. Okay, so after the wide success of the ASR 10, Ensoniq came back with the ASRX. And it was like nothing they've ever done. It was a drum machine style sampler with these octave pads that just look weird. It had knobs, or has knobs, rotary knobs, instead of a data wheel. The sequencer is completely out of whack, different compared to what was done before. Weird. It was weird. It had sounds in it. It had a Rompler. Sounds from the, what was the name of that thing? Oh, I can't remember it now. Anyway, it had sounds from a synthesizer that just came out. The name will probably come to me before the end of the video. And if you guys remember what I'm talking about, just write in the sample in the thing. I can't remember. Anyhow, it was messed up. It was ugly looking. It is ugly looking. But it sounds like gold. It sounds sweet as honey. It is the sweetest, smoothest sampler of that era. It is nice. It is nice. And that is why I bought it. Other than that, it's funny to use. It was notorious for hiccuping, freezing. It came with 16 tracks. That's a new thing. You never got 16 tracks of sequencer tracks before. But if you ran all of them at the same time with a lot of busy information, it would hiccup and freeze. Just look at my review of the ASR-X. It's a joke. Like, I laugh at it when I use it, and you have to view it that way. Do not take this sampler seriously, even though it is serious. Like, it does a lot of stuff. The effects are different. It has a lot of effects. They are different. It's unfinished. They put out a product that was completely unfinished, unapologetically unfinished. That's all I can say. The redeeming quality is that it resamples. It's good for like working up sounds and just doing weird stuff. Like, you can make weird stuff with the ASR-X, right? Along with the ASR-X Pro, which is the follow-up. A little bit more stable, a little bit more features, but still, I put them both in the same category. They're funny little boxes that just... Ensoniq could have took it so much further, you know? And they're more modern. The sound is completely more modern than any of the Ensoniq samplers. But those are my thoughts on all of them. And if you... I mean, I don't even know what to do to tell you whether you... Like, should you get an ASR-X? Let's see. Why would you get one? The sound, sure. The fact that it's a drum machine, sure. The fact that it comes with a Rompler, sure. It's smaller. You can, I don't know, pick it and carry it up under your arm without breaking your arm, sure. Price point this day for a good one, I would start at $350 and up to get a good one. Because again, this is probably a toss-up between the 16 Plus and the ASR-X. They're both faulty. They both go bad. But the ASR-X is probably the most faulty in the sense that its components actually go bad, right? The rotary knobs eventually start to glitch and just cause problems. So you're probably going to have to do some maintenance on it, but it's easy stuff to do. What else can I say? Don't get me wrong, I like the ASR-X a lot. You see I have a lot of ASR-X videos. It sounds good. It's the quickest to get things up and going just because you have internal sounds that you could reprocess, resample. You could do a lot of stuff, but it's still... I hold it in a different class. You know, to me, you have the Mirage, which is like the big, great progenitor, grandfather, you know, just the beginning. Then you have the trilogy, EPS Classic, EPS 16 Plus, ASR 10. That's one sort of generation. Then you got these two side kids, the ASR-X and ASR-X Pro, which are just, I don't know, man. They're good. They're just, I don't know. It's something that you can't really, it's like Ensoniq didn't even make it. That's the way I look at it. It's like you can barely see, outside of the sound of it, you can barely see the Ensoniq fingerprint on those samplers. They reek of merger. It reeks of EMU Ensoniq Creative Labs merger. It reeks of it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe to me here on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Pinterest. Follow me on, what else? What else did I say? Snapchat. And of course, the Daydream Sound. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching. Peace. I am looking at the Moog Mother 32. That is a semi-modular synth that has my attention.